self-discipline, determination, failure is not an option attitude, all of those and the leadership qualities, just working as part of a team and understanding the importance of everybody having to pull their weight and depending on each other. And all of those are very valuable life lessons that carry forward into the business world.
You're listening to the 7 Echo Podcast, brought to you by 7 Eagle Group, the place where we highlight inspiring and interesting United States military veterans who have found a successful civilian career after trading in their uniforms.
I am so excited to chat today with an amazing guest who's joining us from Georgetown, Texas. After serving with distinction as a U.S. Air Force aircraft commander, this guy went on to earn degrees from two of our most prestigious colleges, MIT and Wharton Business School. He later launched what would become one of the most successful haircut franchises in the nation. Last year, Forbes ranked them as the #2 best franchise in America. They generated over $4 billion in revenue during the last 28 years. He provides haircuts to 30 million people every year, over 1,500 locations across the country, and has awarded over $8 million in scholarships for his fellow veterans. He's also a big NASCAR sponsor, entering his 12th season as a partner with Joe Gibbs Racing. I am so honored today to talk to Gordon Logan, a proud veteran and CEO of Sports Clips. Thank you so much, Gordon, for taking a few minutes to share your story.
My pleasure, Jody. Glad to be here.
So why did you join the military? You know, did you always know growing up that you wanted to serve?
Not really. There was an Air Force base outside of town. So I was very familiar with the Air Force, but after I graduated with an engineering degree, I was working for Dow Chemical, and I had an occupational deferment in 1968 when Vietnam was going on, and quite frankly, I kind of felt guilty about it. A lot of my friends were being drafted or going into the military, and I didn't really feel like what I was doing was all that critical. So I guess looking at that and thinking about things and what I felt right about doing, I went down and talked to the Air Force recruiter, and he took my application and so forth. And a month or so later, he called me up and said, "Congratulations, you've been accepted to pilot training." I said, "Well, I didn't apply to pilot training. I applied to be an engineer." And he said, "Well, I hope you don't mind. I changed your application because we need pilots. We got plenty of engineers." Wow. I think he may have gotten a bonus for
switching over.
But I thought, well, that's interesting. So he said, "Come on down and I'll show you this movie about pilot training." Yeah. So I went down, and there was a movie that was almost like Top Gun. It was called 53 Weeks, The Longest Year. And that's how long pilot training was back then. And it was classic. It could have been Tom Cruise driving through the gate.
You were sold, huh?
Beautiful wife sitting next to him. This looks like a lot more fun than being an engineer.
Also.
So next thing you knew, I was in the Air Force. I went through pilot training down at Moody Air Force Base. And interestingly enough, George Bush went through pilot training there as well. My training overlapped his. I didn't know him.
Oh, wow.
And quite frankly, I don't think many of us would have guessed he would be president one day. And I guess that's probably true of anybody you know when they're 23 years old, 24. But I graduated from pilot training at Moody Air Force Base in Valdosta, Georgia, and flew C-130s for next 4 years of active duty, and then flew in the reserves when I was at Wharton going through grad school.
Wow, good for you. What are some of your favorite memories looking back of your time in the Air Force? And then how do you feel that those experiences prepared you to lead a successful civilian career?
Well, I think everybody grows up a lot when they go in the military. You learn to work with people from all different parts of the country and different backgrounds, and the importance of building a team. And on a C-130, we had a small team, it's about 5 people on the crew, but everybody was codependent. I mean, your safety and your well-being depending on the loadmaster doing his job and the flight engineer doing his job, and at that time, the navigator doing their job. And building that team and leading a team so that everybody puts in the extra effort to go the extra mile to make things happen and successfully complete your missions was a very valuable experience. And you get a lot of responsibility at a very young age when you're in the military, regardless of which branch it is. Those lessons and experiences were a very positive influence on me throughout my career and throughout my life.
Yeah. At what stage did you determine, hey, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to have my own company?
Probably when I was about 8 years old.
Really?
I was one of the original recyclers. Back then, the moving companies would use newspaper to pack things when they moved. And there was a lot of moving going on in my hometown because there was an Air Force base there. So there were always military coming and going. And so I had my neighbors saving their newspapers, and every Saturday morning I had a bicycle with a big basket on it. And I would go around the neighborhood collecting newspapers. I'd roll them up in 25-pound rolls, and my mom would take me down to the moving company periodically and sold them for a penny a pound, 25.
Oh, that's great. What a great story. I love that.
And I was also collecting coat hangers, and the dry cleaners would pay me something. I don't remember what it was for that. And
so you were always hustling, huh?
Then I was selling customized Christmas cards back before Boy Scouts and everybody else was doing that. And I would ride my bike around door to door, knocking on doors and taking orders, and then going back and delivering them when they came in. So I've always had that entrepreneurial spirit, I guess. It's something came naturally.
That's great. What advice would you have for other business owners, specifically civilian business owners who are considering a military veteran for their team? Why is it such a great move for to fill your roster with veterans, and what can they bring to the table?
Well, I think that military veterans have made a commitment. Joining the military at any time is a commitment, and it's writing the government a blank check. Basically, you go where you're told to do and do what you have to do. So there is a commitment, a dedication, a discipline. In the military, you learn to work within a system, which lends itself really well for franchising, because that's what franchising is. We have a system, and you work within it, and it's not reinventing the wheel every day.
Right.
So that self-discipline, that determination, failure is not an option attitude, all of those and the leadership qualities that someone develops as either an NCO or an officer as they go through the military, and just working as part of a team and understanding the importance of everybody having to pull their weight and depending on each other. And all of those are very valuable life lessons that carry forward into the business world. Yeah.
What advice would you have, Gordon, for transitioning men and women coming out of the service? They're, faced with, all right, what am I going to do now with my life? What do you think could serve them well?
Well, some military specialties transfer directly. Maybe a diesel mechanic or an electrician or something. But many of them don't. And so I think it's really important to get, if you're in a specialty that doesn't transfer directly, perhaps getting some additional training. And that's one of the reasons why we sponsor the Sport Clips Help a Hero Scholarship Fund, working through the VFW. That we've awarded over 1,750 scholarships over the last few years, but over $8 million to give the veterans making that transition from military to civilian careers that additional training they might need to have a successful civilian career. In my case, I went back to grad school, and got my master's in business administration, and then worked in consulting with Price Waterhouse for 4 years, which was a very valuable experience itself, before I went out on my own and started my business.
Yeah, that's great. And what do you like the most about running a massive operation like Sports Clips and having, 1,500 locations that are under your command?
Well, we're up to 1,800 now.
Wow.
And we had 1,860 in January, February, and we have about 1,845 right now. So we lost a few, but not that many during COVID and the shutdown and so forth. My son is now the CEO. I'm still actively engaged as chairman. Mm-hmm. But I think being in business for yourself is just being in control of your own destiny. And quite frankly, that's one of the reasons why I didn't make the Air Force a career. I really liked the Air Force, but you never knew where you were going to be going next year, next month, or whatever. And that bothered me somewhat. But being in business for yourself, you are in control of your own destiny, and you have no one to blame but yourself if things don't work out. Helping other people has been a very rewarding part of my career in franchising. As a franchisor, seeing other people achieve their dreams and meet their financial objectives and to have control of their time, especially those with families, young families, that's very important. Zig Ziglar, I think, said it best. He said, "You can have anything in life you want if you help other people get what they want."
Yeah. That's good. But I love that you make it so easy for somebody who does want to be his own boss or her own boss to jump into this turnkey operation. You've already got rid of all the, you've already experienced all the problems and the hurdles, and it just keeps getting better and better every year. So the likelihood of success for somebody is probably really high when they jump into a model like this.
We're very proud of our success rate. There's a ratio called the continuity rate that Fran Data, who does a lot of data collection for franchises for Forbes magazine. Forbes magazine comes out every year with the 30 best and the 30 worst franchises. And thankfully, we've been in the 30 best every year they've come out with that. They use a ratio called a continuity ratio, where you go back 5 years, how many stores were opened then, and how many have opened in the subsequent 5 years, and then how many are open today, and the ratio of that number. And we're about 96, 97%, somewhere in that neighborhood. So I'm very proud of that. We've opened a lot of stores, but we have had a very, very good success rate, and that's really important to us too. Every failure is terrible, and it's something that bothers us tremendously. We put a lot of resources into supporting our franchisees, and if we see someone who's struggling, we put additional resources there to help identify what they need to do differently to be successful. And so, in most cases, we've been able to do that, and that's means a lot to us.
Yeah, I could tell you care deeply about your people, and that's probably comes from your upbringing and serving in the military as well. Talk about your love of NASCAR.
Well, I've always been a NASCAR fan. My brother took me to Darlington Speedway, which was about 30 miles from where I grew up in South Carolina, when I was 12 years old, I think, for the time trials. Back then, they ran time trials. And I remember Cotton Owens was one of the top drivers back in those days, and he was doing his qualifying run and coming down the front stretch, something broke in his steering, and he just went straight off the track. And back then, they didn't have concrete retaining walls; they were just little guardrails like you have on a highway. And so we were sitting in the stands down towards that end, so we went running around to see what happened. And when we got over there where he had landed, the car landed right side up, and he was sitting on the hood smoking a cigarette. This is pretty cool stuff. So I've been a NASCAR fan for a long time. I used to race go-karts with Cale Yarborough, who grew up down there.
Wow.
Um, so, but the reason we do it with sport clips is because it's a really cost-effective medium for us to reach our target audience. We're focused on men and boys, although there are quite a few female NASCAR fans as well. And we started out small in 2003 with just one race, a one-off deal. And then we bounced around for a few years, and then we settled with Joe Gibbs about 12 years ago, which has been a great partnership. We've had some great drivers with us over the years. We've had Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch and Martin Truex and Joey Logano. And so it's been a great experience, and it's also worked out very well for our business. We have a third-party marketing firm, research, that measures the effectiveness of all of our sports sponsorships. And NASCAR traditionally comes out top of the heap there.
Wow.
Cost-effective for us.
Yeah, that's terrific. Well, Gordon, I can't thank you enough for what you've done for our country, what you're doing at Sports Clips, and I could tell you're just an incredible person, and I appreciate you taking a few minutes to share your story with us.
Well, it's my pleasure, Jordy, and hopefully some of what I say will be helpful to some of our veterans.
I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will.